What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery is my channel. What I do is I talk about the occult sciences and I break them down to a very practical level so that you can use them and apply them in your day-to-day life, okay? What I'm going to be talking about in today's video is something that is extremely important, and I've come to find that this is one of the most asked questions. And this is also one of the answers to the most asked questions that I receive in regards to, you know, I've started looking into the occult a little bit. I've started doing my own study. Where exactly do I start when it comes to practicing? Where do I start? Do I go straight into working with spirits? Do I go straight into invocation, evocation? Do I go straight into performing rituals? Where do I start? Okay, so this video is going to break it down. I'm going to be explaining some of that stuff, and I'm going to be explaining specifically what the circle of the magician is, how to set it up, and why it is so important, okay? Why it's so important before you begin to do any form of astral travel, any form of astral projection, any form of spirit work in general. It is very important to know the symbolism behind the circle of the magician. So if you want to know a little bit more about what I'm talking about, stay tuned for the rest of the video. Okay, so going right into this. This is one thing that I want you to fully understand, okay? So the circle of the magician is something that is extremely ancient. It's been used for many years, okay? It is one of those ancient things that has actually sort of faded away over time because of the power that it consists, and not just the power, but the importance behind it. So basically what I'm saying is there is a lot of ignorance in regards to the circle of the magician. There is a lot of people that don't know why it is so important to have a circle and to be able to do magic in a circle. There are a lot of people that don't understand the importance of it and what it is supposed to symbolize in its totality. Now, there are times in your practice where you no longer need the circle, but if you are a beginner, it is highly recommended. And once again, it is ancient knowledge that over time has faded away because of the power that it consists. There are certain people that do not want you to know about what this does, okay? There is large amounts of psychic protection and psychic power that comes from the circle of the magician. So some of you are thinking right now, what do you mean circle of magician? What is that? So the circle of the magician is literally a circle that you sit inside of, okay? It is that simple. It is a literal circle that you sit inside of. Now the next question is, okay, well, how do you create the circle? You can get very creative with this, but I have some ideas to share with you that could be extremely beneficial in regards to creating the circle of the magician using other technologies, for example, using crystals. Okay, so one thing that I want to cover is why is the circle so important? This is very necessary to understand, okay? You want to engage your intention so that you know what the circle represents. Because if I just told you, oh, the circle is what's going to protect you and give you power, and it's important, then that's awesome. But you want to ask the question, why? Why is it going to protect me? Why is it going to give me power? What does it represent? Because if I just said that and you just happen to believe me, then you're just kind of blindly believing me. You're not asking why. You're not getting to the root. So I'm going to give you some symbolism behind why the circle is so important and why it has been used in ancient times, okay? The circle is supposed to represent source. So what does that mean? I've made many videos about this before. Source is evolution. Source is the energy that runs through everything, everybody. And there is nothing that does not contain source in it. So we can be human beings having our own experience, completely unique and individualized to us, depending on who you are. And you can interact with another human being having a completely different experience, but you can still relate with that human being. That ability to relate with that human being is source energy. It is the fact that you recognize that that is another spirit that is also trying to evolve, therefore you can resonate with it. Okay? So source exists in everything and everyone. It does. There is an energy that literally connects all of us. Okay? Some of you have recognized that by now. Some of you haven't. That's why I'm explaining it. So the circle, you could think of as being almost like a sphere. And if you could imagine what source looked like, if you could imagine the generating power zone that contains all of that source energy, if you could imagine what it looks like, it would look like a sphere, a very, extremely bright, a very bright sphere that is just emanating tons of light. Honestly, it is light. It is evolution. That is source's primary nature, is evolution. It is to help you move forward. Okay? It's not really about chaos. It's not really about destruction. Those are aspects of source, but source in its nature is all about evolution. Now, us being human beings, having a free willpower and having an ego, we can use source in destructive ways. So you could potentially destroy something in an evolutionary manner, meaning you could destroy something and it could actually end up working out for evolution and mankind because you recognized what you were destroying, and what you were destroying was preventing people from evolving. Okay? This is why we have cycles of life and death, life and death. Things go into complete chaos and they destruct, and then things find order out of that chaos, and then they rebuild. It's a cycle. Source's primary aspect is going to be the evolutionary part of growth. So whenever it comes to making a decision that's going to help you move forward on your path, that's source influenced. Okay? So once again, if you could imagine what source looks like, it's that extremely bright sphere of light. Okay? Just imagine this. Now, when you make a circle, as an occult practitioner, as the magician, the circle is supposed to represent source. This is the knowledge. This is the understanding. Okay? The circle to your subconscious and unconscious is representing source. And there's an archetypal power to that as well. So that means every single magician that has used the circle for this same intention, you are also tapping into that by creating your own circle. It's archetypal, okay? The longer it's been used over time, the more powerful it becomes. It is an actual existing archetype on the astral and in other dimensions as well. So, as I said, the circle represents source. So, sitting inside of the circle is signifying your link with source, which means your link to evolution. Which means that the more you're inside of the circle, the stronger the link between you and source becomes. The stronger the link between you and evolution becomes. What does that mean? That means the stronger it becomes, the more likely you are to make decisions that are going to work out in your best interest because they're going to be evolutionarily based. Meaning you will, for example, you have two paths. You come across you're walking, you come across a crossroads. This is hypothetical. And there's a path on the left and there's a path on the right. Let's say the path on the right is not in your best interest, meaning there's a little bit of temptation that's trying to draw you in because it looks good, it looks flashy, but in reality, it's not the best choice for you. It could actually end up hindering you. Let's say the path on the left is leading you in a direction that is going to improve your evolutionary growth, okay? So you have this path on the left and you have this path on the right. the stronger your link is with source, the stronger your link is with evolution, the more likely and intuitively you will go down the right path. So if you have a strong link with source and you have this path here on the left and the path on the right being the wrong and the left being the right, you will go that way. You will go the way that is beneficial for you, for your evolution. So you'll end up walking down the left path. If your link with source is not as strong, you have a higher chance of going down the wrong path and end up stagnating or end up once again, going down a road that can hinder your growth. Now, obviously, we all have source in us, which means that doesn't mean just because you made the wrong decision, went down the wrong path, that you're screwed. It just means that now is going to become a learning experience for you. So you have to learn from your mistake then. And that's why you went down that path. But once again, the stronger your link is with source, with evolution, the more likely you are always going to go down in the right direction for yourself, which is going to be subconscious, unconscious, and extremely intuitive. Meaning it's not like you're calculating everything, it's actually going to be natural, because sitting in the circle is representing you strengthening the link to source. So the more you sit in the circle, there is that strong, spiritual, hidden, occult link between you and evolution that is just getting stronger every time you do it. And obviously, the more you do it, the stronger that link is. So you can get the link between yourself and source so strong that every decision you make ends up being in your best interest 100%. Like every decision you make always is the decision that is in your best interest. All probability raises for you to make a decision that is going to end up being the right decision to make for your own evolution, the stronger your link is with source, okay? This, what I'm mentioning, is the most important aspect of the circle of the magician, okay? This is what the circle of the magician represents. So before you do any spirit work, before you do any astral projection, before you do any astral endeavors, anything astral, you should start with an entire month just sitting inside of your circle. Okay, because what we want and what the purpose of magic is, whether it's white magic or black magic, is evolution. The purpose is evolution, and evolution has laws that govern it. So the more you understand the true laws of evolution, hence strengthening your link with it, being source, the more successful you're going to be with your occult practices. Now, if you don't have a strong link with source, and you end up doing things like astral projection in spirit work, there is a high chance you are going to go astray. Because when you enter the astral plane and you start to enter it consciously, trying to learn more about yourself, you are going to encounter beings that do not have your best interest in mind. Now, that doesn't mean that you should be afraid to ever experience astral travel or astral initiation or things in that nature. It just means that you want to be aware of that. So the stronger your link is with source, the more likely it is that these beings that don't have your best interest in mind can't touch you, because you're always evolving. You're always looking for the thing that is going to move you forward. And anything that tries to hold you back can't touch you. It literally can't touch you. Okay? Now, if you didn't have a strong link with source and you want to jump right into spirit communication, invocation, evocation, you want to jump right into astral projection, the odds are you're going to have a much higher risk of falling off the path. And the ways that usually will manifest is people end up worshiping spirits as if that's their new God, as if that's their new Jehovah, forgetting that they are their own spirit. The human being has its own individualized spirit that should be worshipped. The word worship broken down means respect. Highly respect. The human being needs to realize that within their own spirit is all of their power. So if there is any spirit that you're worshiping higher than yourself, then you are going to fall off of track, because most likely that spirit I don't care what spirit it is. Some are different, but most likely that spirit will take full advantage of your ignorance and allow you and continue to influence you to worship it, so then it ends up taking all of your energy. And it takes all of your attention. Because remember, attention is power. Attention is energy. So if a spirit can convince you to worship it more than yourself, and you make this your lifestyle, that spirit's feeding off of you now. There are some spirits that will tell you, especially if they see that you have potential, because this is a common thing. I've done this myself, okay? Most of the most professional occultists have been down that trap. We've understood this. And I still know some today that are still falling into this trap, and it's unfortunate. But there's also ones that have surpassed this and know this understanding. And this is so important to understand. There are some spirits that will eventually tell you, if they see that you have potential and they see that your intention is strong towards your own evolution, they will tell you, stop worshiping. Some of these spirits will literally say, stop worshiping spirits. Sometimes they'll say, stop worshiping us. Sometimes they'll say, stop worshiping me. Wherever your blockage is, sometimes spirits will tell you, but a lot of the times, if your link with source is not strong, that spirit will just allow you to worship them. So it will take all of your energy, and you will forget that your own spirit, being your own higher self, your own daemon, your own divine intelligence within your own right, you will forget that that even exists, and you will forget your own power. And that's actually a disrespect to yourself on a deep level. And remember, a lot of this stuff happens unconsciously and subconsciously. When people are worshiping other spirits higher than themselves, their intention isn't bad. They have good intention. They think that's in their best interest. But I'm explaining to you, it's not, because they're misunderstanding something. Okay? And this is just a fact. You don't have to believe me, but I'm putting this information out there, and it's, once again, it's a fact. And the most professional occultists understand this fact. You do not worship any spirits higher than yourself. I respect spirits 100%. I have tons of respect for certain spirits that have helped me on my journey, but the fact of the matter is that most of these spirits that I am working with, their job is to help me evolve, okay? Because I came here to evolve. So if I come at it with that perspective, of an evolutionary perspective, the spirits that are worth working with, that is their purpose, to help me evolve. Because as I evolve, it actually helps them evolve, and it's a win-win. And for any spirits that don't have that interest in mind, that don't have my best interest in mind, then I don't end up connecting with them. So they don't get my power, they don't get my energy. Okay? And then from that, because I'm powerful, from that, they diminish as a spirit. Okay? This is the perspective that you want to have. And once again, the way to fully make sure you're connecting with the right spirits and that you're making the right decisions and that you're protected is all coming back to the circle of the magician. So when people ask me, where do I start? I'm not going to tell you start with invocation. I'm not going to tell you start doing rituals. What I'm going to tell you is start with a circle that represents source, and start by sitting in that circle for at least a month. Okay, try and do it daily for a month. By doing that, you are going to naturally, as I said, strengthen your relationship with source, with evolution. Once you've done that for a month, you will have a strong enough connection with source, that you will be able to, as I said, be a lot more protected and have a lot more power. Okay? It's very similar to a Bluetooth. When you get into a car that allows connection to a Bluetooth to play your music wirelessly, the way that you can play your music happens when you create the link to the Bluetooth on the car. If the Bluetooth does not connect to the car, if that link isn't established, you can't play your music. It's the same thing with evolution. If you don't have that link to source, that invisible link to evolution, it's a lot more likely that you're not going to be able to get what you want and get the things out of it that are important on the source perspective. So with that being said, that's the first most important thing. Now let's go into how do you create the circle. Once again, you can do anything to create your circle. I mean, I remember when I first started, this was like almost 3 years ago, I went to Home Depot and I bought a mat, a painting mat, and I literally took a Sharpie and drew a big circle on it. That was my form of doing the circle, okay? And this is even before I knew the knowledge that I know right now. So I intuitively, when I first started my practices, intuitively, no one told me about this, I intuitively knew that I needed to sit in a circle. I may have come across some videos on YouTube that like brought it up briefly, but for the most part, it was intuitive. I just felt like I needed to be in a circle. And now, 3 years later, with all the knowledge that I have, I understand why I intuitively did that. I already naturally back then had a strong link with source, but for me to do the types of occult workings that I do now and that I've done recently, it's very important for me to have a very strong link with source, and I definitely have established that. So to create your circle, you can literally do whatever you want to really symbolize that circle. It's all about the symbolism, and it's all about the intent that you give the symbolism, okay? Now, what I recommend is utilizing another form of technology to incorporate into the circle of the magician, which is crystal technology. So for those of you that don't know, crystals have an energetic property to them that can act as certain types of generators for energy, depending on which crystal that you're using, because different crystals have different properties. This is all coming back to Enochian magic and Enochian technology. The Egyptians were very fond of utilizing metals and crystals as energy receptors, or energy, you could say, projectors. Okay, they use the same types of technologies. Okay, so if you're smart, you'll be tapping into this as well. So I recommend you get 8 clear quartz crystals to represent your circle. 8 standing for the number of infinity. 8 also standing for the number of chaos. So we have infinity and chaos, and within chaos there is all potential. So the reason that you have 8 is to symbolize you are learning how to master all potential. You are learning how to be the director of chaos. You are learning how to tap into infinite potential in regards to that link to source in evolution. Okay, so that's why I recommend using 8 clear crystal quartz. Now, the reason why I say use the clear crystal quartz is because the clear crystal quartz energetic property is to create a positive vortex. It spins clockwise, okay? If you could imagine the spin of the energetic vortex that it emanates, it would be clockwise. And that produces a positive vortex, as I said. You could even think of it as a positive torsion field, where it pulls in positive energy to you, and it can send out positive energy from you, depending on the intent. So if your intent is sitting in the circle, creating your link with source, you're going to be able to pull in energy and send out energy simultaneously, okay? So that's what the clear crystal quartz does. So it enhances your ability to establish that link to evolution. And that is just adding in the crystals. Now, can you do the circle without crystals? Absolutely. Your mind is extremely powerful. Okay, your mind can create that link in its own right, but I'm just giving you a technology to add to it using crystals that's going to enhance it. So even if you have a strong mind and you have a natural gift of being able to create things with your mind and establish these astral connections, you're only going to empower that by adding the crystals. Now, if you're someone that doesn't have that natural ability and it's harder for you, then if you add the crystals, it's going to make it a lot more effective, okay? So, with that being said, That is how you create the circle. It is that simple. And then you sit in it. The more time that you spend in the circle, once again, the stronger the link that you have to source will become. I know people that will tape the circle, the crystal circle, on the fucking ground where they do their work on the computer. Okay? I know people that will put the circle underneath of their bed so that when they sleep, they're in the circle. Okay? I'm just sharing this because this is how real it is, and this is how serious some people are taking it. I've done many things with the circle. I've spent a lot of time in the circle, hours on hours on hours. And I've gone through, I mean, it was essential to go through the occult initiations that I've been through. So it's very important. But within time, as you're using the circle, there will come a point in your evolution and in your development where you no longer need the circle anymore, okay? You will essentially be carrying the circle around you, but that takes some time to get there, okay? So don't go jumping right into it thinking, oh, I did it, I'm there, it's gonna work. It's gonna take some time, and the reason why I can do it and why I know I don't need the circle anymore is because I've gone through every single initiation in regards to the Kabbalah tree of life. And there is, I mean, it's the most balanced and effective form of occult evolution to go through. So that did many things to my own energetic body that are permanent changes for myself. But not everyone's going to be going through the same level of initiation. So once again, just keep that in mind, that it does take a while to be able to not have to utilize these techniques or these technologies anymore. But the reason I'm saying it is because that potential is there, and as long as you're consistent and you're taking your practice seriously, you will get there. Okay. But other than that, that's gonna wrap it up. Okay, I definitely shared what I need to share in here. This is where you start, so definitely make sure you share the video if you know anybody else that could use this information. Once again, there's not too many people talking about it, so let's get that information out there. Other than that, hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button because I love to see my subscribers going all the way up. Hit the notification bell because I post videos as often as I can. And definitely make sure you go and you check out my Patreon link. Okay, my Patreon is going to be the first link in the description. It says my Patreon right next to it. On my Patreon, I have exclusive content like this that is not on my YouTube channel, very informative content. Some of that content is going to be geared towards spiritual practices. For example, how to do an invocation. So once you learn how to create your circle and once you establish that link, the next step is to learn how to do spiritual invocation, to call on certain spirits to gain more knowledge, wisdom, and power to help you go down your path of evolution. So I have a video like that that's on my Patreon. And then the other bit of the videos are going to be geared towards educational entertainment, which is a video that's very similar to this, where it's educational, you're getting a lot of value from it, but it's also entertaining at the same time. So you could just put your headphones on, listen to it, and gain a lot of value. In order to gain access to the exclusive content, you have to at least be a tier 2 member or up. In order to be a tier 2, it literally costs $9.95 a month. So if you do the math, that literally comes out to less than $1 a day. So there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be able to afford that with the value that I have on there. As you go up in tiers, the benefits increase as well. So I'll let you check that out for yourself. And with that being said, I would love to give a special shout out to the top tier members of the Patreon. Their names are going to be mentioned right below that Patreon link at the top of the description. Okay, so huge shout out to you, ladies and gentlemen. But once again, other than that, I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.